Yeah.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Welcome back. I'm so excited about our talking about our guest topic today. We're going to talk about, transforming your workplace into embracing a blended workforce and what the heck that even means. So today we have an international guest here today, global speaker, consultant, senior lecturer, and founder and CEO of Crowd Potential Consulting. Welcome today, Dr. Rochelle Haynes. Hi, Rochelle.
Hiya. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I love that your LinkedIn profile has good work advocate.
Absolutely. Yeah,
What does that mean?
that's my mission for HR. I think when I joined the workplace, I felt as a young adult, I felt quite disillusioned in terms of what was sold to me versus what it actually was. So I think in my consultancy, I really set out to pursue a mission that would kind of align with what I saw as my purpose and my desire as well, which was to have a good working experience because work takes up so much of our lives, so much of our existence. And I wanted to ensure, because I'm sure there were other people that felt the same way with me, quite like they didn't quite fit into the work environment that they're in. So I just wanted to really advocate for different work approaches, but a decent quality of work, no matter where, when, or how you prefer to work. So that's what the good work advocate means to me.
I love it. I love that. I absolutely love it. I might have to borrow that actually.
No worries.
I
No.
absolutely love it. Hey, I know that you talk a lot about, embracing a blended workforce. Like, what does that even mean? What is a
So
blended workforce?
So a blended workforce is a workforce that's made up of persons who work in different ways. So that could be full-time in-house employees, part-time employees, online workers, offline workers, independent contractors, AI infused into the workforce as well, robotics in the workforce. So it's a workforce where you are managing different different types of workers, whether those workers are digital workers, whether those workers are independent workers, full-time, part-time, whatever the case might be. So it's that blend of different types of workers and how you actually go about managing that.
I love that. According to over here in the United States, I know you are not in the United States currently, but over here we have the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they're reporting that 40% of the current workforce today is actually contingent workers. And that
Absolutely.
more workers are saying, I'm going to be contingent. Now, it could have been because of necessity, because of natural disasters, layoffs, family situations, or it could be by choice.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of it as well everywhere across the globe of, no, I don't want to be a full-time worker to one company anymore. I still want to work full-time hours, but I want to have my hands in a little bit of everything. And,
Mhm.
this means to me, again, regardless if you're a big company, a small company, if you're in charge of HR and you're in charge of recruiting, stop being so judgmental on people's resumes when they have multiple jobs because they're doing what's best for them. And you either need to learn to adapt or you're going to lose out on a lot of candidates, right?
Absolutely. And you mentioned so many different things there. One of the things is that I don't realize a lot of employers realize just how many employees they have that already moonlight, that already do independent work. So we see traditionally full-time employees as a traditional work approach, that full-time 9 to 5 in-house. But as you mentioned, we have this large percentage of persons that's working independently. And a lot of studies, for example, MBO partners are showing that that number is increased. So what we called it, when myself and my business partner, Jeremy Blaine, who I wrote the book with, Open HR, when we started the study, that was the origin of that book, we found that persons, we called it the silent revolution. We thought that persons weren't really considering the fact that more and more people were choosing to work independently. But enter COVID, and that accelerates and that comes to the forefront for everybody. So now everybody's paying attention to flexible work, everybody's paying attention to remote work. But this growth was already increasing. And during COVID, in the first year, it increased by, let's say, between 2021 and 2022, it increased by 70%. Between
Wow.
2022, between 2022 and 2023, it increased by 131%. So that number is growing really rapidly. And also, if you go from firm to firm, you can see even larger increases. So, for example, you mentioned that in the US is a 40% workforce of independent workers. If you look in one company alone, for example, like large companies we know, like Google, within Google, more than 70% of their workers are independent workers. So it's been there for a while and it continues to grow and it's presenting a lot of very interesting issues for HR now.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I know that you're in London. And so we have different laws, across countries and even heck, even across states over here. But, for our listeners that are listening from the United States, I encourage you to look into the concept of contingent workers. Just be sure that you're following the law. And if they're supposed to be a part-time W-2 tax employee, then make sure that they are. You can have a part-time employee who works 5 hours a week. It's fine. It's, the tax situation though over here will definitely get you in trouble. So, think outside the box because that's how we're going to get, these amazing people work for us and then brag about us and refer their friends, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is something that companies can't ignore. Again, if you look, I always go to the research because we see it in practice, but then the research is backing up the practice, is showing in the wider scale of what's happening. And research for the last 3, 4 years has consistently shown that more than 70% of people working in full-time roles are thinking about leaving their jobs in the next 12 months. So they're in their roles. They might be doing moonlighting already. They might be doing some independent work already. But while they're already planning their exit strategies. And that presents a massive problem for companies within a year, within 2 years of where do you find your talent and where do you find talent for the roles that you need them the most, those very highly skilled roles. So this is something that companies need to learn to navigate and navigate well, because one, you're losing talent when you have persons that are retiring, but those persons want to continue working. They want to continue perhaps consulting with the organization. So do you have your company set up in a way that would allow them to move smoothly from being a full-time contractor to being an independent contractor? And as you rightly mentioned, that fear that a lot of companies have around this of compliance and of risk, it's really important to understand what are the laws that govern the different states, within the different states, within the different regions, or if you're going wider afield more globally, what are your parameters for hiring independent talent? Because it's not impossible. You just need to be aware of what your
Right.
parameters are, where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not impossible. You just, again, make sure you're following the law. And for the listeners in the United States, if somebody chooses to move to an independent contractor, which we often refer to as 1099, there
Yeah.
are a set of laws under the IRS and there's a set of laws under the Department of Labor, not just to make it a little more complicated, but they're not that crazy. I,
Absolutely.
I could definitely help you get through that as well. But, unfortunately, over here in the US, many people who are hanging on to their full-time job, even though they're like totally disengaged and not at all wanting to be there, it's usually because of benefits. So, if you don't have great benefits, you're going to already be losing employees. But I even just say, scratch the benefits. Let's get creative there. That's easy. It doesn't sound easy, but you're getting creative and getting the right people involved. We have to train our managers and, everyday employees. Like, these are the rules for when Wendy's working. These are the rules for when Dr. Rochelle is over here. These are the rules for when John, the employee's here. This is what you can and cannot tell them to do. And this is how we're all getting along. For one, I'm here for it. Like, I'm so excited for the people that are going out and trying to start businesses, even though they know they might fail, at least they're trying and, giving our
Yeah.
world something a little bit different. So now I know you mentioned that you have a book. What's the name of the book?
So it's called Open HR, the Human Capital Framework for the Blended Workforce. And it's
And where
written by,
can
sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Where can we find that?
It's available on Amazon on all the major platforms. So Amazon UK, Amazon the US, and it's doing pretty well. So we're quite proud of it at the minute. It's hit UK bestseller, US top release, international bestseller, and it's a very practical book that provides guidance and strategies for companies who want to think about blending, or not even want to think about it, want to execute on managing a blended workforce. We have templates in there. We have a glossary with all of the different terms that you might come across if you're thinking about independent contractors. We have advice about how to navigate compliance, if that is your worry. And we also have chapters around how do you adjust to the digital transformation that might be required along the way. So it's a very, very practical guide for companies.
I love the word practical. That like has me written all over as I'm copying the name of the book right now to put into Amazon to make sure that I add to my reading list. Fortunately, I'm going to take some time off for the holidays, so maybe I can get some of my reading actually done for once.
I know that feeling.
I wanted to just ask you a few more questions too, because I know you're a global speaker as well. So, I mean, are you seeing the blended workforce issues? Are you seeing it all over the world, or is it just in, the UK and the United States?
We're seeing it at different levels, and we're seeing different levels of maturity as well. I think often sometimes we think of the US and the UK as Western countries as the leaders. And what we've seen more in, for example, we launched the book in Singapore, and we've seen companies there that are far light years ahead in terms of managing the blended workforce. So in terms of the maturity levels, the understanding and the acceptance towards managing a blended workforce, it varies. In the US, there's wider acceptance, but there's still some apprehension. In the UK, there's probably the most apprehension.
Wow,
And
really?
yeah, and that's because of compliance again. Everyone's afraid of compliance, and there's this regulation called IR35, which is easy to navigate. But I think when it was first introduced, it was very big, bad, and intimidating. So everyone was like, oh, let's not even tackle that. But what we like to tell people, or the frame we use when people bring that concern to us, is there's an app for that. Because because of this environment of now platform work and the digital economy, there are new organizations and new companies that have emerged to manage the problems and the challenges that we face. So, for example, you have a company called CXC Global that helps companies to manage through the compliance of and the risk concerns of hiring 1099 contractors or hiring independent contractors, as we call them in the UK. You have other companies like Gigged AI that help companies with organizing their internal and external talent marketplace. So there are a lot of different strategies that companies can use.
Yeah, they just need to talk to people like yourself. So,
Absolutely.
with that said, how can our listeners connect with you, Dr. Rochelle?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. You can find me as Dr. Rochelle Haynes, or you can also go to my website, www.crowdpotential.co.uk. But LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to reach me.
Okay. All right, listeners, I will make sure that her LinkedIn URL is in the podcast notes. This has been awesome. I mean, when I saw, just the title of your book about blended workforce, I was like, yes, I definitely want to talk to this person because it's here. And if you like it or not, it's not going away. So if you don't get on the train of hiring a blended workforce, teaching your managers and all your employees how to deal with a blended workforce, you're going to be left behind and you're going to be maybe left with full-time employees, but not necessarily the right people that you need involved, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a major thing you said, that last point, because one of the things that we've seen constantly and it's been widely recognized in research and in organizations is that the people best fit to solve organizational problems are not in the organization. So we need to think about how we hire the best of talent wider afield and get that breadth of expertise to solve our most pressing problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And I really do mean it when I say you are a good work advocate.
Yeah, that's good to know it's ringing true.
Yay. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Stay safe and take care.